All right, everyone, here we are with another video with Invest for Tomorrow, and we're going to be talking about ticker symbol OCGN, Ocugen stock, Ocugen Inc., how it's been reacting, and why it jumped up. I did a full chart analysis earlier today, but I want to share with you guys specifically how this stock reacts and what made it go up. Why is it up today? A lot of people probably already know. A lot of you have probably read the articles, but I want to go ahead and share my insight on what I think this means moving forward. So why is it up? Well, Ocugen jumped on Wednesday, which was today, after the biopharmaceutical company announced positive results from a phase 3 trial of Covaxin, COVID-19 vaccine candidate. Now, it went up almost 46% earlier in the day, which we could see that it went from like $10 almost to $15. Now, the one thing that Ocugen has is the opportunity to be partnered up with the Bharat Biotech, and they're going to have 45% share of the profits. Ocugen will receive that once they are officially the U.S. market distributor, gets FDA approval, and starts being sent out here in the U.S. markets. Now, for Bharat in general, not Ocugen, Covaxin, this is great news because in this phase 3 study, Covaxin showed the vaccine to have 81% effectiveness, preventing the COVID-19 after the second dose. Ocugen CEO, right, believes that the data from this trial in India could help the biotech obtain emergency use authorization for Covaxin from the FDA in general. So they think that that's going to give them a shot over here at the US market. And although this data is certainly promising, the FDA may require Ocugen to conduct clinical trials in the US before considering the drug for emergency use approval. So one step closer to getting into the US market, but here is the catch. It's still going to be a little bit behind in the process of finally gaining a market share, and it might get to the party, I'm not going to say late, but not always on the best time or on time. So Pfizer and Moderna are already out here, and we already have Johnson & Johnson in the race. And there's two things that make Ocugen with Covaxin have an upper hand, or at least be very interesting compared to the others. Well, the first thing is the way the cocktail is made. No mRNA technology. It is the novel form of the COVID-19, which is an inactive form, how traditional vaccines have always been made of the COVID-19. I think it's one of the few or only ones that I know of that are made like that. Second is transportation, right? Doesn't have to be in certain, Fahrenheit of degrees or Celsius. It's like the temperature and environment conditions are not so limited. Now, even though they do want to have it at a certain temperature, there's been trials and statements and articles saying that Covaxin won't spoil at room temperature, which is an upper hand on Pfizer and Moderna. Now, 81% though is 90% less than what Pfizer and Moderna's vaccine demonstrated of effectiveness of more than 90%. And I'm saying 9% just to be nice, based off of 81% to 90%. Now, Ocugen stock remains a relatively higher risk investment compared to other COVID-19 vaccine developers, and they mentioned this one. So that is something to look into, and they're stating this towards the end of the article. But one thing I do want every single investor and viewer to be aware of is that this phase 3 trial was a big milestone for Covaxin and for Ocugen to officially start the race of gaining the market share of the US market. So we're going to have to see how profitable it is and what 45% really is of the profits, because Ocugen is not the sole maker and it's not the one creating it. It's almost just partnering up to distribute it here in the US. So how much further up could this go? That's the big question. And we've seen it go up big time from 30 cents all the way up to almost $20. Could it break $18 again? We'll have to see. But that's what's made the stock jump up really fast. But just as fast as it jumped up to almost 14 and some change, it's pulled right back down to 10.93 and it's fighting to get back to $11. So we need to keep in mind that Ocugen runs on news about Covaxin, and right now it's all the speculation and hype. But what about once they finally have it? There's no more of the question mark, what's next or what's next exciting, other than waiting for revenue to see what that 45% of profit really is. I'm not here to discourage any investor. I'm not here to state that this doesn't have potential. It certainly is showing it, and Ocugen is partnering up with a pretty good and impressive vaccine, and it's a 2-dose vaccine based off the article, but it's 81% effective, and that's a little bit less than what Pfizer and Moderna have been showing. Now, what it has an upper hand on, like I said, is the cocktail on how it's made and the fact of the temperature where it has to be stored. And this could make this vaccine reach much more rural areas. And that's going to be a big impact on changing lives and the impact on getting the vaccine deeper and further into the population. So I think that Ocugen has a shot here with the market share, but it's going to be a very competitive approach for them, and they're going to have to prove themselves within the vaccine market. As always, guys, if you found this video helpful and informative, please do so and subscribe. Don't forget to click on the bell to turn on all notifications and not miss a single video that I post. Share this with your friends and community, and don't forget to hit the like button to let me know you watched this video. So for everyone that has made it to this point in the video, I'm going to talk about the S&P 500 index and why the market is down and why it continues to pull down and struggle to stay up, okay? I want us to be aware of this, and it has a lot to do with the 10-year treasury. So let's jump into the tweet of the day, and we're going to jump back into the S&P 500 index and also 10-year treasury. I usually talk about individual stocks to add to your watch list, but right now I believe there's so much more value in being aware of this than an individual stock. Now, if you want to know live updates on 10 plus ticker symbols that I've already shared with everyone in the last 2 weeks, and there's many more to come, you can join us over at the Patreon. The link will be down below in the description, and you will know live updates on what I'm watching and what attracted me to it. So the tweet of the day is institutional investors buy a stock. It makes a bold statement about the stock and the institution's outlook on the stock. This is why I like to know what institutional investors are buying or looking at, because it just makes a bold statement of the company, and it makes a bold statement on what they see moving forward. Who is your favorite institutional investor to watch? That's my question to everyone, and I'm thankful for the one person that commented, and they stated it was ARK. Who is your favorite? Comment down below in the comment section who is your favorite, and if you don't have a favorite, you need to find one. And if your favorite is ARK, I really want to encourage every single investor and viewer to find another one. Not just ARK. ARK is great, ARK is growing, but ARK is really small compared to some of the largest institutional investors out there that have a track record for the last 20, 30, 40, 50, even century of years. Like, it reaches up to a century. They've been around for so long, in the last decades and even up to the last century. So definitely do some research on that. But if you do have one other than ARK Invest, I would love to see you talk about it or comment down below who they are. So let's talk about the treasury yield. So the treasury yield, as I've been looking at it, and I did the beginning of this video, it was sitting at around 1.46, almost 1.45 as I was looking at it today, and 1.46 in the last several minutes. I mean, this was literally 20 minutes ago, before I started doing the video. I was looking at it and it's already jumped up to 1.48. When we zoom out to the 1 month, it's gone up from 1.13 all the way up to 1.48. And when you do the 3 month, it was below 1.0 and we're almost double, right? Almost, not there yet. And the 6 month, you go back down to 0.6, and then year to date, and then the 1 year, the lowest that we've seen at 0.5 in the history of the 10-year treasury. And when you go all the way to all, the highest was up here at 15%, and all it's been doing is going down. This has been the turnaround, and it's making a lot of investors uncomfortable. As long as this doesn't pass 3%, I believe, in my opinion, based off the history of this, it could go back to a healthy consolidation. And if it stays there or pulls back downwards, it could be even a healthier sign for a bullish market. But there's going to be a lot of rockiness and a lot of uncertainty as this continues to go up if it gets closer to 3% or 2%. Now, this is creating the wildness and the uncertainty in the market overall. And that is why we're pulling downwards. We need to see what's going on. I have the RSI pulled up here on the 30-minute, and this is an oversold area. This could bounce back up, and we could see something like this happen, bring itself back up, kind of level off, and then Friday bring itself back up a little bit, and then all of a sudden we pull back down in the near future going into next week or the next several weeks, especially if this continues to go upwards. This is something to watch carefully. It's the 10-year treasury, right? That's what you want to go ahead and search, and it's at 1.4. It's supposed to show a percentage. As long as this stays below 1.5, 1.6, I shouldn't see the S&P 500 falling drastically. But if this continues to go upwards in such a quick spike like we're seeing it, it's going to create some uncertainty and rockiness in the market. So I do want every single investor and viewer to be aware of this. We need to watch this, and hopefully, again, we are in a correction and not a crash, because the treasury yields have hit the all-time lows. It's bouncing back, and what if all it does now is go back up to newer highs for the next 5 to 10, 20 years? You know what that can signify for the market? A long-term crash that a lot of investors, experts, billionaires, millionaires are talking about, and Bitcoin is hitting all-time highs. That right there has put a big question mark, in my opinion, on what's going on. I just want to be aware, and it's very important to not be caught by surprise, but I want this to be more of a correction than a crash, and that we can continue to grow exponentially and see a bullish market continue with corrections that are healthy. No crash and no long-term crash, because what would happen is what a lot of experts say, and this is just a quick drawing, don't use the numbers on the side. Imagine that this was the peak up here and we fall all the way down, and then the market's just going to sit like this, sideways. We hit a big crash and it's just an L-shape recovery, and then it's going to take some time before, years before that starts going back up slowly. And that would be one of the longest crashes that we've ever been in the history of crashes. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that I'm just thinking this, and that all of those experts and billionaires are incorrect, and that we can go ahead and hopefully have this priced in somehow into the market, and that worst case scenario, this goes up to 2-3%. The market gets adjusted to it, we get used to it, and we continue, because we were growing even when it was at 2, even 3%. We were a growing economy, and the S&P 500 index was growing. So hopefully we can handle this and not get too crazy. But the one thing I'm watching right now more than ever is institutional investors. While all retail investors are scrambling around, they are focused and they're executing orders, and large ones, on specific stocks. As always, guys, thank you guys so much for watching, and let's make some money.